So our lesson is India during the Maurya period. Lesson number 7. Let's look at the next slide. Okay, so what are the objectives of this lesson? To know about the historical development and geographical peculiarities. Now, what is peculiarity? Something which is unusual. You don't know about it. Okay, it's something which is unusual. And the second objective is sequence key events during the Maurya period. Sequence means how it is first, second, third. That you know. That is known as sequence. As you can see the army on the right side of the picture. Let's look at the next slide. So in this topic, we are going to cover 7.1 and 7.2. The Greek Emperor Alexander's invention, and in 7.2, the Maurya Empire. Let's look at the next slide. Okay. As on my right side, you can see a picture. Let's see who is he. In the 6th century BCE, a king named Cyrus has established a vast empire in Iran. Now, Cyrus is a king, as you can see here on the right side of the picture. He had established a vast empire. Vast means very big, wide. You can say it was very wide. Okay, empire. You know what is empire, no? Different states or territory coming under one rule. That's known as empiring. Okay, so he was the empire there. This around 518 BCE. So children, what is BCE? You know what is BCE? BCE is before Common Era. Before Common Era. An Iranian emperor named Darius had conquered the region to the northwest of India up to the Punjab. Up to the Punjab. Darius had recruited some soldiers from this area into his army. It means in around 580 BCE, Iranian emperor named Darius also he had conquered. You know what is the meaning of conquer, children? To win, to defeat. Okay, the region of northwest of India up to Punjab. So from in India also they started conquering till Punjab. They were successful in conquering the things. So Darius had recruited some soldiers from this area into his army. His soldiers were also looking or taking care from there. We learn about this from the writings of the Greek historians. The Greek historians have written this all things in their books and they have mentioned it. Political relations between India and Iran were established during the reign of Emperor Darius. Means from that time, if somebody asks you when did we start the political relation, so it started in that era. Okay, and this led to the greater exchange in the fields of trade and art. Now, what is trade, children? You know, buying, selling goods, and also there are many other services which comes under the word trade. And when you look at the word, what is it? Art. So in art, you come music, dance. There are many other things also which comes in the art. Because of this time, this what happened is there was a relation between India and Iran, and this started establishing. Okay, let's look at the next slide. In the next slide, you can see Emperor Darius had introduced a uniform currency called Derrick in all parts of his empire. Means wherever he was ruling, he was not ruling all over the world. He was ruling at some of the parts, as I have mentioned, I have told you in the before first slide. So in that way, he introduced a uniform currency. What is the meaning of uniform? Same currency, or called Derrick, so that for trading it would be very easy for the people. This made trading easier. The capital city of Persepolis was built during his reign. Persepolis is in Iran. So where is Persepolis? Persepolis is in Iran. Let's look at the next slide. Now, in the next slide, we will be looking at the Greek Emperor Alexander's invention. Children, what is invention? Invention is a military action, consists of armed force. Okay, and they generally, their objective, what is the objective, is to conquer the other territory. Means not only they don't take care of only about their territory, but they also fight and go beyond and start conquering, winning. That is known as inventions. Okay, so our first point is Alexander, the Greek emperor, invaded India's northwest frontier in 326 BCE. In 326 BCE, he started fronting. Fronting means he started going further. Okay, he crossed the Indus, that is Sindhu river, and he reached Takshila. Okay, he started conquering, and from he crossed the Indus river and he reached Takshila in 326 BC. Now, looking at the second point, on the way, he met with forceful opposition from the local Indian kings. Obviously, if somebody is coming in your house, do you think you will be quiet? Obviously, the kings, those who were ruling beforehand, they also started a defeat. They started fighting. There was a fight. There was a war between them. But there was a forceful opposition from the local Indian kings also. But he defeated them all and successfully reached the Punjab. He defeated them all and successfully reached the Punjab. Means he could, they all lost. Only he could win. Alexander win, and then he started taking one territory in his rule. Looking at the third point, children, however, in this invention, his army had to suffer severe hardships. The soldiers were eager to go back home because Alexander did not stop. As he started, he was just moving. He was just moving with the soldiers, just taking one territory under him. But the soldiers were suffering a lot because every time, every day, get up, fight. They were having a lot of hardships. There was no home for them to stay, no proper food. They were like suffering for anything like that. So the soldiers were eager to go back home. They wanted to go back home now. So they rebelled against Alexander and he was forced to turn back. Now, what is to rebel is to resist, to disobey. They started disobeying. They said that we don't want to work now. We don't want to fight anymore. We want to go back home. So because of all these things, Alexander had to stop there, and he was forced because of his military, his army, to turn back. He therefore appointed a Greek officer to administer the conquered territories. They were called as satraps. Now, whatever territories he conquered, there should be someone to look after. No, he cannot look alone. Do you think alone he could look after all the things? No. For that reason, he appointed an administrators for the different territories which he conquered. Now, they were called as satraps. Okay. He started his return journey. He started coming back, but died on the way back in 323 BCE at Babylon. Now, today Babylon is in Iraq. Okay, children? Let's look at the next slide. Okay, this is the picture of the king Alexander. Okay, let's look at the next slide now. Now, looking at the first point, Alexander's campaign led to an increase in the trade between India and the Western world. Now, what is a campaign? Something, a series or task to be taken to achieve certain goal. Okay, they started campaign about that. So campaign is a series or operation that you want to achieve something. Okay, so to achieve the goal, they started campaigning, so that the trade between India and the Western world keeps on increasing. Now, looking at the second point, the historians who accompanied Alexander introduced India to the Western world through their writings. The historians. Now, who are the historians? The one who writes history is known as historians. And who accompanied? What is accompanied? That is something being part of it. Someone who was a part of the thing, which means whatever was happening at that time, there were some of the people there and they wrote history. Okay, so they introduced to the Western world, and Greek sculpture influenced Indian art, giving rise to the Gandhara school of art. So the Greek sculpture, the Greek is famous for making sculptures and all. So they were influenced by the Indian art. They liked very much, they liked the Indian art, different types of art. So they gave rise to the Gandhara School of Art. So Gandhara School of Art started and they gave rise to that. Now looking at the third point, which is the Greek kings minted characteristic coins. Now what is the meaning of minted? Mint means making money. Okay, minted is something making money. So they started producing money. Okay, so now what was that money? It was in the form of coin. For nowadays you can see the money in the form of coins and also in the notes form, but at that time, at the early stages, it was only in the form of coins. Now how it was, let's see how it was. On one side the coin had a picture of the king, okay, who had minted the coin, the one who asked them to make the coin. That king's picture was there on one side of the coin, and on the other side a picture of Greek god. The name of the king was also written on the coin. So there were two sides of the coin. One side there was a picture of the king, and also on the other side the picture of the Greek god. And the name of the king was also written on the coin. Alexander's coins were of the same type. Later on, Indian kings also started minting the similar coins. Let's look at the next slide. Yes, now we can see the coins here. Okay, so as you can see in this picture, these are the two sides of the coins. So on the one side you can see the picture Alexander, and the other side the god, Greek god, and also in small it's written the name of the king. Okay children, yes, let's look at the next slide. Now from here the Mauryan Empire starts. Let's look what happened in the Mauryan period. Let's look at the next slide. Yes. Indian political history during the classical period could be characterized as fragmented with intermittent empires. Okay. Now, classic is something a particular style. There was a particular style of, there was a king, they were ruling. That was all the particular style in that some era. Okay. It was fragmented. Fragmented means broken. That every part of the territory will have its own king. All this was started breaking up now. Okay, as you saw in the last slide, that one territory, what happened? Alexander started taking, overcoming them. Yes, everything came under him. And the word fragmented with intermittent empires. What is intermittent? It is a period. Periodically, after some time, it started changing. So around 600 BCE, the first empire united many small kingdoms. Many small kingdoms, small territories started coming under one rule. It was called the Mauryan Empire. This was a very big, a wide change in the history, where many territories came under one side. Children, if you look at the right side, I have shown you a map. Okay, that shows you about Ayodhya Patliputra. It also shows you about the Mauryan Empire in the 250 BC. So the classical empires were centered on the gangs of the river, where I have shown the arrow. Okay, let's look at the next slide. In the next slide, I have just shown you the timeline, which just helps us to understand for how long the Mauryan Empire was there. As you can see, the ancient and classical Indian timeline I have just made for you. In 1900, you can see Mohenjo-daro, the Vedas, the Sanskrit, the Siddharth. But in 326, Alexander invention you can see in the BC. But from 321 to 320 BC, it is from the right to left side. When you move on, you can see that for 500 years, disunity and regional rule was there. So as you can see in this timeline from the right side, okay, the Mauryan Empire ruled for how many years? And so many territories came under one empire. As you can see there, from 320 CE to 321 BCE, 500 years, not a short period of time, children. It was a very long term. Okay, children. So this gives us an idea that how one-on-one things went on moving. Okay. Now, children, let's look at the next slide, which tells us about more about the Mauryan Empire. Now, in the first point, as we can see, Chandragupta Maurya founded the Maurya Empire. People were tired of tyrannical rule. People were tired of this tyrannical rule. You know what is tyrannical rule, children? Something where you boss. You just keep on bossing them. You just tell them, I want this, I want that, and you don't listen to the other members. Even you are ruling, you have to listen to the people. Okay. So people were very tired of this tyrannical rule of Nanda king of Magda in Dhananda. Okay, there was a rule of Nanda king of Magda in Dhananda. So Chandragupta Maurya, as we can see in the second point, Chandragupta Maurya brought it to an end and he established his own rule in Magda around 325 BC. Chandragupta Maurya ended all these things. He said that this is all wrong, and then he had a fight with the king. Then he started ruling the Magda. He won Avanti and Saurashtra and began to extend the boundaries of his empire. The kings never used to stop children. They, like for example, if they take one territory, so they were not happy at that time that just this one territory is under my rule. They were not happy with the one rule. They wanted other territories also to come under them. But Chandragupta Maurya wanted other territories also to come under there because there were many tyrannical rule going on all over there. So he wanted to put an end for all these things. So Chandragupta Maurya also started moving ahead with his army. Let's look at the third point. After Alexander's death, a struggle for power began among the satraps he had appointed. As you remember, children, I told you that Alexander had to move back, okay, because his soldier rebelled, that now they don't want to fight more, they want to go back home. So as he was moving, all the territory which he won at that time, what did he do? He appointed satraps for each territory, okay. So now what happened, as Alexander died, then again other kings started ruling. There was a fight among all these satraps for the appointment, that now I want to get appointed, I want to rule, or I will take care. All this started fighting among themselves. Now, looking at the third point, the Seleucus Nicator was Alexander's general. Seleucus Nicator was Alexander's general. He became the king of Babylon after Alexander's death. He was a very good Alexander's general. He had more knowledge than other members, and he became the king after immediately after the Alexander's death, king of Babylon. As I told you, it is in situated. Let's look at the next slide now. Children, in the next slide, you can see the Mauryan Empire led by Chandragupta Maurya spanned more than 2,000 miles. Chandragupta Maurya built his empire by conquest. Same way how Alexander did, Chandragupta Maurya also built his empire, and he conquered all the territories. Okay, he had an army of 6 lakhs and defeated Alexander's the Great successor. Just imagine, children, Alexander was such a strong king, and he also had a very big army. And defeating such a big army, can you see that's a 6 lakhs? Just imagine the number of people in there. In their army, 6 lakhs people, they defeated Alexander the Great successor. Alexander was a very great successor in history. If you open the histories, you will find more stories about Alexander's. But yes, this is also a thing that Chandragupta Maurya defeated him. Seleucus near the Indus River Valley in 3003 BC. When did he defeat him? It was a Seleucus near the Indus River. 6 lakhs, just a very big thing. Let's look at the next slide now. What else did Chandragupta Maurya do? Let's look. In the next slide, you can look at the first point. He invaded the northwest frontier region of India and Punjab. Whatever went with Alexander started ruling the northwest side. As I told you in the first slide, when Alexander was moving ahead. So even Chandragupta invaded the northwest frontier, and he took whatever region was under them. He started taking the region of India back. Okay. In the second point, you can see Chandragupta Maurya successfully resisted his aggression. He successfully resisted whatever he had aggression about all these things. He successfully could complete all these things. The defeat of Seleucus Nicator led to the inclusion of the northwest region of Kabul, Kandahar, and Herat in the Maurya Empire. Now, Chandragupta, after Alexander died, who was the king now there? Seleucus. So, Seleucus also got defeated by Chandragupta Maurya, and that's why the region, whatever the region, northwest region, Kabul, Kandahar, and Herat, came under the Maurya Empire. So, it was again the very big thing that the empire territory was just getting a wider, bigger, and vast. Now let's look at the third point, which is equally important. Megasthenes, that is Seleucus Nicator's ambassador, stay back at Chandragupta Maurya's court. Megasthenes is Seleucus Nicator. He stayed back. He was an ambassador at. He was the main one in that in the court, and he stayed back. He said that even if Alexander is not ruling, even the Seleucus is not ruling, he was ready to work under the Maurya court. His book Indica is an important source for the study of India during the Maurya period. Children, he has written a book named Indica, which mentioned many numerous of things, what happened exactly at that time in India, how it was been conquered, how others got defeated, many more things. But the main thing he described or in his book was, there is an inscription stating that Emperor Chandragupta Maurya had built a dam called Sudarshan near Junagadh in Gujarat state. He also built a dam Sudarshan near Junagadh in Gujarat state. Who did this? Chandragupta Maurya, to solve the problem of the people. Let's look at the next slide now. In the next slide, children, you can see Megasthenes, 300 BC, he was a Greek ambassador at the court of Chandragupta. See, on the left side, you can see it's Megasthenes, the standing in between. Okay. And on the right side, you can see Chandragupta. There he is the king. And at the lower side, children, on the right side only, you can see the book Indica. Children, in the book describe itself, as I have written on the left side, skin can see, the whole country is talking about India in this book. He was saying that the whole country is under the tank-based irrigation system and is very prosperous because of the double harvest which they are able to reap each year. Means the whole country, he's talking about India. India has a huge irrigation. Irrigation, you know what is the word irrigation, yeah? The water levels. It is very prosperous. Now, what is the morning prosperous? That means you will get successful. It is because of the double harvesting. Okay, so see, just think, children, even in those days, farming was so important, and everybody knew that India was such a prosperous for harvesting, for farming, and which we were able to reach each year, which they were able to reap each year. Means each year there was so much of things you could get from the fields. Interesting books, yes? Let's look at the next slide now. Okay. Now on the next slide, you can see, this is just for, you should know, Vishakha Datta, the Sanskrit playwright, wrote a play called Mudraksha. It relates how Chandragupta Maurya defeated Dhanadhana and established an independent power. As we learned all these things, we are looking into the slides, we came to know that how was Alexander Empire. Then we also came to know about Chandragupta Maurya. He, the king which held, took all the territory again back for India. All this thing we can see from all these slides which we saw. Now in this slide, we are able to see that there is also one play. You know what is a play, right? There, some of the people come and enact. That is called as play. So Vishakha Datta, the Sanskrit playwright, he was a writer. He wrote a play called Mudraksha. And what did it relate? It related about Chandragupta Maurya defeated Dhananda and established an independent power. So it was so difficult to defeat Dhananda, and then he established independent power so that the people would survive from all the kings, those who were just ruling and bossing them. The plot gives special importance to the contribution of Arya Chanakya, also known as Kautilya. So on the right side, children, you can see the book. Okay, I have just shown you the picture. It's written by Professor K.H. Dhruva. You can go through the books. It will be just helpful. So here I have ended up with my lesson, and I've covered 7.1 and 7.2. But you need to do one assignment. Let's look at the next slide. This is the assignment for you children. Okay. So next time when I come, I will be asking you the answers for this. Okay. See that you just write it down or take it down. Okay. Thank you, everyone.